Okay, today we're going to be talking about cooking for your best health. How to do that. Cooking your favorite foods, but in a healthier way. And there's some small tweaks that you can change that will make an enormous difference. I'm going to be talking today about several different things, but we're just kind of scratching the surface on some of the things that you can do to make things healthier. This way, the way that I'm going to be talking about today is doing some substitutions that most people don't even recognize in how it changes the taste of the food. So stick with me with this. Um, if you can eat a healthier way without sacrificing taste and feel better, live longer, live healthier, have more vitality, and isn't that what everyone wants? Is more vitality, more like life? Lower your healthcare costs as well. Would you want to do it? I think most people would say, yes, absolutely, I want to do that. Some of the things that I'm going to talk about today are going to be things that sound really crazy. Things like whole grains are not good for you. Stay away from them. Dairy products should really kind of be avoided. Eating eggs is good for you. Our society went through a long period of time where they demonized eggs horribly, and none of it was true. Eating more meat may be good for you, depending on how much you eat already. The food pyramid is designed by food companies that want you sick and confused. Like, what the heck? I don't understand this. Why do I have to eat this way or that way? And why do I eat healthy but still stay sick? And our government is not looking out for your best interest, but putting their financial best interest first. And maybe not globally, but on an individual basis. The people within our government are, many of them are corrupt. We all know this. And it's a situation where you have to watch out for yourself. What is the healthiest diet? I believe it's a Paleolithic diet. Some people say, oh, vegetarian. We're not designed to be vegetarians. And then some people say, "Oh, carnivore, we should eat carnivore." And there are people out there that get great benefits out of both of these diets. But when you look at our digestive tract, we're not designed to be carnivorous either. We are designed to be what they call an omnivore, eat all sorts of different kinds of foods, eat meat, eat vegetables, eat eat protein from various sources, eat carbohydrates. We're designed to take in all of this stuff and be healthy as a consequence. The period of the Paleolithic era started about 2.5 million years ago and went to about 8 to 10,000 years ago. It started when the first primitive tools were developed. Oh, there's a spear or bow and arrow, that sort of thing. And the area covers about 99%, 2 million, 2.5 million to about 8,000 years ago, 99% of human evolution. And that's a long period of time. And we evolve in how we approach what we eat, and our bodies change as we do that. And there's changes taking place currently as a result of the dramatic changes that have occurred in our diet over the last 150 years. And we'll talk about that and some of the problems that go along with that. But basically, it went from when we first started using primitive tools to a period when there was significant farming and ranching um, on a larger scale, where basically grains became more available to the average person, like eating bread and that sort of thing. What is a Paleolithic diet? It's about 15% good fat, and there's bad fats out there, 15% low glycemic carbohydrates, primarily from vegetable sources. I'm going to say actually probably 100% from vegetable sources. 30% protein, that's a fair amount, and 40% non-starchy vegetables. This would be mostly starchy vegetables. And think of the difference between these two. These are mostly grown below ground, like root vegetables, and these are primarily grown above ground, like leafy kind of vegetables. So keep that in mind. So this is kind of what a Paleolithic diet is, percentage wise. And we'll get into this in a little more detail. But there's three really good reasons why you should consider eating a Paleolithic diet. It gets you away from sugar. It gets you away from gluten, and not everybody has trouble with gluten, but it causes significant problems for lots and lots of people. And even if you're not like gluten intolerant or something like that, it can cause you gut problems when you eat it. And then a Paleolithic diet helps get you away from omega-6 fatty acids. We're going to focus on this quite a bit today as well. One big problem with changing our diets is we are programmed to survive. We want to survive. And when we are back, I'm going to go back here, when we're back in the Paleolithic era between 2.6 and 8,000, 10,000 years ago, what's the biggest problem that a lot of people have? It is starvation. We require calories to survive. We get the most calories from fat and sugar. And so our brains have developed as telling us, hey, this is going to give us a lot of calories to make us survive the winter. Eat more of this. So you come across a um, apple tree and it's in the fall, and you take a bite of apple and you're like, whoa, this tastes pretty good. And your brain says, yeah, flavor. It's got lots of this in it. So let's eat lots of these now while they're ripe on the tree, and we'll be more likely to survive the winter. Same sort of thing with fat. You shoot a deer or something like that, and it's, let's say it's almost ready for winter as well, and it's fatty and that sort of thing, and you cook it over the fire and you say, oh, this is delicious, I love this. And your body says, eat more of this because it tastes good. Our taste profile likes this stuff. However, starvation is not a big problem these days. Nobody's starving. There's a lot of food around, especially in America. But food manufacturers use this programming against us, and they make foods that use our survival instincts to uh, to sell us the cheap, unhealthy junk that everybody's familiar with. A good example of this is Oreo cookies. Oreos have been shown to be the most addictive common food on the market. And what do they have? What do they have in them? Well, if you eat an Oreo, they've got a ton of sugar, and that's very upfront when you first take a bite of an Oreo. Yummy, it tastes sweet. But they also have a fair amount of fat in them, and they don't have healthy fats in them either. They've got vegetable oils primarily as an ingredient in there that make it that real smooth, buttery flavor that's just like, oh, I'm going to have another one of these and another one of these and another bag and one more bag full as well. So food manufacturers know this, so they make cheap, unhealthy junk to make it so they can get you to buy more of their stuff. And back back in the day, we didn't have to worry about unhealthy food because it wasn't available. You couldn't go to the supermarket and get junk. You ate, that apple off the tree. But anyway, let's continue. Are you going to allow food manufacturers to use your survival instincts against your best interests, rob you of your money, rob you of your health, rob you of your free will? Because so many people become addicted to this stuff. They do it by manipulating your dopamine levels. Dopamine is that hormone that triggers in your brain when you have uh, basically like, I'm in a situation where this tastes really good. I'm being rewarded. I eat this, there's a reward, and I want more of this. And there's a whole book on how they've also taken this same method and applied it to video games and like social media, and saying, oh, you're getting rewarded for getting more stuff done on the video game, so you want to do it more and more because it hits your dopamine over and over again. Or I give a post and I got 1,000 likes on that post. Well, I want, that feels really good, 1,000 people like my post, I want to do I want to get 10,000 likes, and you want more and more and more of this stuff, just like people want more and more and more food. just like the Cookie Monster. Dopamine is highly addictive. It really is. And food manufacturers know this and they use it against you. Don't let them do it. Over the last 150 years, grains, and this is one of those unhealthy fats, we'll talk about this. Grains have come to provide, this is scary, 75 to 90% of the average American's calorie intake, where during the Paleolithic era, it was close to zero because we didn't have farming. We didn't have farming, so we didn't have grains in any abundance. So this has replaced all of the other stuff that we used to eat during human evolution for the last almost 2.5 million years. And this is a quote: the rapid changes in our diet, particularly in the last 150 years, are potent promoters of chronic diseases such as atherosclerosis, that's heart in the arteries, hypertension, high blood pressure, obesity, diabetes, arthritis, autoimmune diseases, and many cancers, especially cancer of the breast, colon, and prostate. Scary, scary stuff. What's happening currently in the last 150 years to our diet is causing all of this. And you wonder why people are dying, why people are dying. We're not dying of the same stuff that we did before 150 years ago. Used to be accidents and infections. You'd get, a flu bug and you'd be dead the next year. You'd have an accident on the farm and you'd die. Those are the things that kill people the most. Nowadays, it's this stuff here. We're living longer, but we're living far more miserably, and you don't have to live that way. Sugar, let's talk about sugar. It scars the arterial lining. So if you eat sugar, it gets into your bloodstream, the sugar molecule itself is making heart disease more likely, because as it goes down, as it's in your blood, it goes down and scrapes along the side of your arteries. It's actually scarring them. I went to a class a couple of years ago now, and the instructor was quoting a researcher who said that taking sugar into your bloodstream is essentially like giving a little child two sabers and allowing them to run down the inside of your bloodstream, cutting the inside of your arteries, which when there's a scar on the inside of your arteries, it's far more likely to accumulate fats, which we'll talk about that in a second. Sugar increases insulin. Keep this in mind when we talk about inflammation here in a little bit. Insulin promotes inflammation. I'll show you exactly how that happens. It makes fat storage guaranteed, mandatory. Insulin increases triglycerides in the bloodstream, inhibits metabolism of stored fat. It keeps your stored fat stored so you can't lose weight. If you have insulin in your bloodstream, weight loss is practically impossible. Grain carbohydrates from this huge amount of grains that we have over the last 150 years have come 90% of some people's diets. Grain carbohydrates break down to sugar and cause all of this trouble that we're having. Gluten, we'll talk about this second. Gluten is a protein that your body does not like very well, and it's primarily in grains. And it helps the dough be sticky and makes it so it is very, very useful in making stuff. Like if you're making pizza dough and you can stretch it out and throw it up in the air and it all sticks together and doesn't fall apart, that's because of the gluten from the grains. It's a protein that's really sticky like glue almost. If you roll it out, and you can roll it very, very thin, so you can have these pastries that are just delicious. Oh my goodness. However, that gluten going into your gut can cause lots of problems, because if you think of it like the glue, like throwing the pizza dough up in the air, that same stuff is in your gut, keeping it all your food, all the grains glued together essentially, and making it much harder for digestion. And gluten has actually been shown to irritate the gut lining and causing inflammation. It increases gut permeability because it irritates the lining. leading to leaky gut syndrome. We're not going to go into that a whole ton today, but that is a whole other class that's causes all sorts of problems. Contributes to autoimmune problems. It damages gut-friendly bacteria that you should have that are really good for you, and contributes to brain fog, depression, dementia, Alzheimer's. They've done studies that show all of this. Gluten, really bad for you. And the nice thing is, if you stay away from grains, you'll stay away from gluten because they're together. And well, we'll talk about gluten-free. I'm not recommending a gluten-free diet. You can eat extremely badly and still be gluten-free. Soda pop, the devil's drink. It's horrible for you. Completely gluten-free. You can eat tons of rice that turns into sugar in your bloodstream just very, very quickly and very easily. And it's completely gluten-free. You can eat tons of corn. Corn also really horribly sugar-filled, has tons of omega-6 fatty acids, but is completely gluten-free. So don't think a gluten-free diet is what I'm promoting. It is not. There's many grains that don't contain gluten, but still cause the inflammation that starts the disease process that we talked about earlier. With gluten-free diet, you still tend to eat a lot of products that have sugar and high omega-6 fatty acids, things that are made with corn, things that are made with rice, and that sort of thing. When manufacturers remove the gluten from a product, they replace it with other stuff that is just as dangerous or even more so in a lot of cases. Now let's get to omega-6 fatty acids. This is one of those things that I really believe is one of the worst when it comes to grains. It is a potent promoter of inflammation. We'll get into the chemistry here in just a second with that. Causes long-term damage when it's incorporated into your cell membrane. If it's incorporated into the cell membrane, it can cause insulin resistance because too many omega-6 fatty acids in the cell membrane make it so insulin can't come along and attach to the cell membrane, resulting in diabetes. It can cause serotonin resistance. Same thing. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter, a hormone that basically tells the body, hey, I'm full, I'm happy, I'm satisfied, everything's great. Okay? If you have too many omega-6s in your cell membrane, then this hormone comes along, this neurotransmitter comes along and tries to attach, but it can't attach to the cell. So it's blind to it. It's resistant to it. Just like it's insulin resistant, it can be serotonin resistant as well. When you don't have enough serotonin, you might have enough in your body, but it's not attaching to where it needs to tell this next cell the signal. You get, I'm depressed. I'm depressed because I don't have enough serotonin. Or you don't get the signal, hey, I'm full. And this can result in weight gain as well. We talked about dopamine earlier. Dopamine resistance can be the result of this as well. When you have these receptors that aren't receptive, then you might have a lot of dopamine in the body and it doesn't get to where it needs to send the signal. So again, you have addiction. You're in a situation where I want reward, I want reward, I want reward, and you're not getting it. So you keep trying to get that reward in one way or another. And addiction can be the result. And when I talk about this, I don't necessarily mean, and it can be that way, but I don't necessarily mean a drug addiction. You can be food addicted. You can be video game addicted. You can be social media addicted. There's all sorts of things you can be addicted to for sure. And this doesn't even take into consideration how much dopamine resistance you can have when you're overloaded with it. There's so much of it in your bloodstream, your body kind of becomes blind to it when it's in smaller amounts. So you need that more and more and more, that hyped up sense of feedback that people need to feel good. So really watch out for this. It's really bad for you. I said I'd talk about the chemistry of this. Don't worry about the big words here. Just follow me with this. We have corn, cottonseed, really, really bad. Sunflower seed, safflower seed, peanut oil, soybeans, canola. These kind of oils have linoleic acid. They turn into, let's go a couple steps down, they turn into what's called arachidonic acid. Arachidonic acid is highly inflammatory, but not as inflammatory as prostaglandin E2, which is the next step. Prostaglandin E2 creates all sorts of inflammation. How do we get here? We have the COX enzyme works on arachidonic acid and converts it. So if the COX enzyme, there's three types. If the COX enzyme works really quick, really well, then it converts it quicker. And if you have lots of this and you have lots of this, then this conversion occurs quicker. And then you get more inflammation, fibrosis, that stiff pain, degenerative joint disease, vascular disease, heart disease, vascular dementia, that sort of thing. Number two cause of free radicals in the body is this inflammation. Immune system dysfunction, increasing immunoglobulin E and immunoglobulin G. Really a bad situation, but what makes it worse is if we have insulin. Insulin makes the COX enzyme work great. They work really, really well in the presence of insulin. If you're in a situation where you have insulin, what does that mean you've done? That means you've eaten sugar. So like, let's take a donut, for example. You get a donut that's deep fried. It's probably deep fried in peanut oil, just say, probably. And it's made from wheat, which isn't up here, but it still has a fair amount of linoleic acid in it. So you're getting this omega-6 from the peanut oil that is cooked in, that's deep fried in, and the dough itself. And then you're also eating that donut that's plastered in sugar, and you're getting high insulin. So basically, your donut is going to make this occur very quickly and increase your chances for all of this stuff. Now, what do people do when they have inflammation? What do most people do? They take some kind of anti-inflammatory. I'm going to take an aspirin. I'm going to take an ibuprofen. I'm going to take an Advil, something along those lines. Well, if it's a situation, or I'm going to take a Tylenol. And what these do is block COX inhibitors. These are COX inhibitors. They block the COX enzyme, so it can't happen. So I feel better. And most of the over-the-counter stuff are COX-1 inhibitors, like aspirin, Advil, that sort of thing. COX-2 inhibitors are things like Vioxx. Vioxx has been taken off the market for a long, long time, but there's a number of other ones that are prescription as well. But let's talk about Vioxx just for a second. It was on the market between 2004 and 2009. And what happens when you take Vioxx? It blocks this. You don't have this turning into prostaglandin E2, so you don't get this, particularly this problem, pain. So people took Vioxx and they're like, wow, I feel awesome. I feel like I'm 20 years old again. That stiffness, that arthritis, that pain, it's all gone. I feel great. I want more of this. I'm going to keep taking this stuff. So people took lots of Vioxx. It was a miracle. What happens is it backs up arachidonic acid, and because it can't turn into PGE2, it turns into leukotriene B through a different enzyme over here. It's called the LOX enzyme. And leukotriene B4 creates heart disease. So people were dying right and left from heart disease, and they pulled it off the market after 5 years. This drug killed more people in these 5 years than the Vietnam War did in 10 years. So really, really bad for you. Really, really bad. What's the best thing to do if you have pain, if you have degenerative joint disease, vascular disease, other problems that are caused by inflammation? Stop eating what feeds this process and start eating things that have not omega-6s, but omega-3s. Then we'll talk about kind of what that is. But eliminating the sixes are the big thing. The most profound truth about your health is grains are the number one. Many researchers feel it is the number one cause of pain. Sports injury, shoulder pain, low back pain, hip, knee pain, carpal tunnel syndrome, you name it. Number one cause of pain. Grains are the number one cause of inflammation, and Time magazine calls that the secret killer. How important is avoiding inflammation when it comes to your health? Inflammation is responsible for all types of chronic diseases that most Americans die from. Heart disease, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, and stroke. And there's a lot of other diseases that relate to it as well. Inflammation contributes to cancer. Some researchers believe it's the number one cause of cancer. Having an inflammatory microenvironment because you have lots of prostaglandin E2 running around your body can result in cancer growing exponentially. It's really, really, they believe, the number one cause of it. It contributes to stroke, both kinds. Hemorrhagic stroke, because when you have inflammation, it makes your arteries weaker and more likely to burst. But when you have inflammation, it also scars the inside of your arteries, making it more likely that you have fat buildup and you have some kind of ischemic stroke. Inflammation is a major factor with diabetes because insulin increases testosterone in women, it increases estrogen in men. It's really a bad situation. Oxidative stress, cholesterol is increased, blood pressure is increased, liver detox pathways are decreased with insulin. This is just, it's necessary to get the sugar out of your blood for sure, and our body makes it, but having it at high levels is really bad for you. You want to avoid that at all costs. Inflammation causes heart disease. When you have inflammation on the inside of your arteries, and when you have sugar along with that, it makes it even worse. Then fats that are normal in the blood are more likely to attach where there's inflammation and scarring. And then you have a buildup of this fibrous plaque, and you have a decrease in the amount of blood flow and end up with heart disease. Inflammation contributes to Alzheimer's. It has been shown to be a major factor in regards to that. And if you are worried about this, look up type 3 diabetes, and they go into great detail. And it's a theory. Type 3 diabetes is a theory. It's not considered an actual diagnosis, but you'll find lots of information on what they believe causes or is a great contributor to Alzheimer's. And I kind of gave it away a little bit, but diabetes, when you have too much sugar in your bloodstream on a regular basis because of your diet, it can contribute to brain dysfunction really badly. And if you have inflammation as a result of too many omega-6 fatty acids in your diet, then you're going to be in a situation where it makes it more likely that you get Alzheimer's. All of these diseases have been proven to be helped by lowering your intake of grains that have sugar, gluten, and omega-6s, the three big things we're trying to stay away from, and have been proven to be helped by increasing your intake of omega-3s. Here's an issue, is there's very few foods that really have an abundance of omega-3s in them. And the biggest one is ocean caught fatty fish. Great, and eat more of that. However, it's almost impossible to get enough in your diet to overcome the omega-6s that we already have in our diet. So we need to actually supplement. Supplementing with omega-3s is about the only way you can really forestall these health problems that are so significant from this. These studies are numerous. These studies on this are numerous, repeated, and have shown to be valid in the laboratory as well as clinically out in the world. Really take this seriously. They know what causes this stuff, but it's very, very few doctors who promote this because they can't patent omega-3 fatty acids. It's not a patentable product. They can't do it. So big drug companies don't make any money off it. So they're like, well, good luck. We're not going to tell you about that because we get too much money off selling Advil and Tylenol and whatever else, and too much money off being in a situation where there's heart disease cures by hacking you open and or doing stents, that sort of thing. Take an omega-3 supplement. what omega-3s do, EPA, DHA, it increases growth of the nerves responsible for memory, learning, understanding. There's Alzheimer's that we talked about. It helps that. It leads to higher levels of antioxidants, lower rates of heart disease. They've done studies on all this. Asthma, type 2 diabetes, multiple sclerosis, cancer, inflammatory bowel disease, rheumatoid arthritis, stroke, asthma. I said asthma twice. It's that bad, folks. Breast cancer, colon cancer, depression, psoriasis. And if that's not enough, it helps dry eye syndrome and macular degeneration as well. I take omega-3s every day. Omega-3s, more than 50 years of research and thousands, literally thousands of studies prove that balancing your 3-to-6 ratio in your body improves cardiovascular disease, hormone balance, cancer, neurological disorders. It's shown that omega-3 fatty acids are critical, preventative, and even curative. They can cure these problems. Harvard research shows omega-3s are vital for the treatment of depression by itself. Huge deal with depression. It really is amazing how it helps that. They're a better option than non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like aspirin, Advil, ibuprofen, and Aleve because they don't have the side effects that go along with it, and they help prevent autoimmune diseases, and they also have that curative effect that we've talked about. So if you're in a situation where you're having any of this stuff on a regular basis, your body is sending off alarm signals saying, help me, help me, help me. And if you do the wrong thing, it's not going to help in the long run, because how often do you have to take an aspirin? Some people take them every day, or a Tylenol or an Advil or whatever. Oh, I have another problem. I'm going to take another Advil. They go through this stuff like candy. Switch to something that not only lowers your inflammation and pain, but is also curative in regards to all these other diseases as well. So what should I do? I've got no problems. I just want to be healthy. I want to be proactive. Take 3 to 4 grams a day. That's 3 to 4,000 milligrams a day. For most people, that's like 4 pills. Okay. I'm overweight. I'm obese. I have type 2 diabetes. I have heart disease. Before starting a weight loss program, take 5 to 7 grams a day or 5 to 7,000 milligrams a day. I have chronic pain. I am in pain a lot. I'm in pain every day, all the time. Take 7 to 10,000 milligrams a day. I have a neurological disorder. Oh, I have beginnings of Alzheimer's. I have mental decline. I have Parkinson's. I have MS. I have something along these lines. Take 10 grams a day. When we get into this area here, I usually recommend a liquid because it's far easier to just down 1 shot a day than it is to take like 10 pills a day. So testing your omega-3s, it's a pretty simple blood test. I do it on patients on a regular basis. It gives you the ratio of the balances of your fatty acids in your body, and it details where you stand compared to healthy levels. There's a lot of different labs that have this. I use LabCorp. They're over on Millsap, and they have a great test for this that's not too expensive. List the amount of important fats in your blood. And next time you're in a situation where you're like, I'm doing my annual with my doctor or whatever, tell them, hey, will you test my omega-3, omega-6 ratio? And so we can see what that is, see where I stand with that. Some people actually get back very shocking results. If you're in a situation where you haven't been supplementing with omega-3s, it is not likely that this is very good for you because of how many omega-6s are in our society, in our food supply. All of this, and we haven't even talked about how a Paleolithic diet improves your gut, which is enormously helpful as well in regards to all of these problems, and all the benefits that go along with improving gut health, immune system benefits, gut health benefits, the gut-brain axis situation. Just all of this goes right along with this. And I haven't even touched on this yet. That's a whole other class. I am AccuSmart. Check out my website at accusmart.com. And I also have a YouTube channel that I'm trying to grow. And what I do for that is do workups on people for free. I'll cover all the costs on that in front of the camera. And then we put that out on YouTube to help people be in a situation where they are if they're in the same boat you are, then they'll hopefully benefit from that information. I really appreciate you listening, and I hope this was